Supermodel Bella Hadid has just come out of an intensive 100-day-long treatment for chronic Lyme disease, a condition which is dubious according to the medical field. Her and her mother both, and her brother Anwar, all allegedly have Lyme disease, chronic Lyme.
Is it?
Everyone is turned into house to say, bitch, it's not lupus.
Is it genetic? Like, is it something that has like a genetic component? Like, you're more likely to get it if the family gets it?
I think people say that if a mom has Lyme disease and she gets pregnant, then the baby could just inherit it from her. I don't really know the science behind that, but that's what she claims. It's giving Royal Pains though, because like
the show Royal Pains.
Yeah,
I will talk. I will do a whole podcast on just the show Royal Pains, ladies and gentlemen.
Her mother Yolanda was on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and made this whole storyline out of how she had chronic Lyme. She was doing all these treatments and nothing was working. Thank you.
Can we get a third one? Guys, we got 3 crisis parties yesterday and Monday. You don't want to let the ladies down, do you?
If some random prostitute at the airport can get $300, I think that we deserve that.
There you go.
The bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like, ladies and gentlemen, like, don't you want to be good to the women on this show?
Anyway,
the culture.
Yolanda, she was getting all of these alternative treatments for her chronic Lyme, and then suddenly she realizes that she needs to remove her breast implants, which were leaking silicone into her body, and suddenly she was all better. Weird how that happens,
so she
right?
doesn't have Lyme disease?
A lot of people think that she was faking it, as a lot of affluent white women do. But a lot of people are saying that Bella is faking her Lyme disease as well, and that she was almost Munchausen by proxy into being diagnosed with it and went to a bunch of alternative medicine doctors to get a fake treatment for it. They also think that she's using the treatment to cover up going to like rehab for drug addiction, or she's using it to cover up some other illness.
My favorite is whenever celebrities go to rehab for exhaustion.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are bringing up.
Like, trust me, I went to rehab and there wasn't nobody in rehab there for exhaustion.
They just didn't need a long nap or anything.
No, I mean, depending on how much meth you do, you can be exhausted.
So Bella posted a carousel of pictures from when she was in treatment, looking very, hot and skinny and having a bunch of tubes all over her and having an IV bag.
I'm in my Lyme disease era.
She was in her Lyme disease era. Okay, now she's in her comeback era, but she posted her medical records on Instagram, which is kind of weird.
That seems like someday she's going to sue a doctor for HIPAA violations, and they're going to be like...
So it says that she suffered from fatigue, made worse by physical exercise, attention deficit, calculation difficulties, memory disturbances, frequently saying the wrong words, depression, sleep disorders, numbness, tingling sensations, headaches, disequilibrium, lightheadedness, nightmares, ringing in her ears, muscular weakness, intolerance to bright lights, non-restorative sleep.
I'm going to say right now,
that sounds like an eating disorder.
To be honest,
that's true. A lot of people are saying she's using this to cover up an ED treatment that she had to go through.
Erectile dysfunction treatment. Huh?
No.
But I'm just saying, all those symptoms would have fallen in line with strung out Brett back in the day too, most of the time.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it's lining up.
I feel like it's when you WebMD something and you have every symptom of every disease and you're like, I have headaches.
Yeah.
I get tired sometimes.
The meme is like, it's like when you look up what's wrong with you on WebMD and says you should just be dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
So one comment said, kind of weird to share your medical records on Instagram, but okay. Another one said, I don't get it. One bacteria is caused by deer ticks, other by a cat scratch that has parasites, and third by a tick. How do you get all at once? And how are they all resistant to treatment for over 10 years? It's very weird. Yeah. Another said, it's interesting how so many celebrities get Lyme disease, but I've lived in the South my whole life. My friends and I have pulled ticks off of us since childhood, and no one around here has ever gotten Lyme disease.
I mean, that's anecdotal at best. Like, it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
We do hear a lot about, chronic Lyme disease, which isn't an actual diagnosis from specifically affluent celebrities. It is a weird coincidence, that's all. But she went to TikTok to shut down rumors of her going to rehab for drugs. She said, I know I look sick. You don't have to tell me twice. And no, I wasn't in rehab. No, I don't do drugs. So can we all drop it now that I've filled you in? but the rumors continue spreading. I don't know.
Is that a PICC line in her arm? What is that?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
She's like making being medicalized sexy again. That's what she's looking for.
That's true, yeah.
She's like, look, there's like when you're stepping into your beauty at the doctor's office. I've got to add stepping into your beauty now. You're not just stepping into your confidence, you're stepping into your beauty. And you're showing the world. The thing, I think it's
Lyme visibility.
Lyme. Also, not to be off topic, but I think that the ability to come up with those ridiculous slogans must be a female thing, because I always notice them when I see other people say them, but I can't just come up with that type of flowery language off the top of my head. Like, who was the first person who said stepping into my confidence? Who do you think that was?
Whoever that was, we need to find them and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. Another comment said, how does a whole family have the same disease? How did they know that they got bit by ticks? How did they not know that they got bit by ticks? If they did know, how are they still having symptoms years and years later? And her own sister Gigi doesn't have it. So that's a weird coincidence too. And another person said, I assumed it had become a new rehab or surgery cover, like when they go to the hospital or rehab for, quote, exhaustion.
I love it. Look, at the same time, I joke about that, but you have a right to your privacy.
She's literally posting her medical records.
But I'm saying,
on Instagram,
I'm saying for the other ones who don't post about that stuff on their medical records on their Instagram and stuff like that, I get the instinct for privacy when you're going through something like that. Certainly, I never took that route, because I always felt like if you're going through something, whether it's them with an eating disorder or issues with addiction, I think that for powerful people, they kind of have a different scale they have to judge it on, because they're judged differently than the average person. But for me personally, I'm not famous. I don't have to worry about that. To me, the secrecy behind it was always worse for me, because that's how it was when I used. I hid it from everyone. So I had to go the opposite direction when I got clean. But I understand why people of high social visibility, where their brand deals can be affected by these things, though, these days. Like, can you imagine a brand like, yeah, we're going to dump you because you're an addict? No, what they're going to do is they're going to recalibrate and say, no, we're going to stick with you because you're going to be a symbol for change. And so they don't even need to dump these people.
You can be an advocate or an activist.
You can join FouseyTube as an advocate for somebody.
Have you guys watched The Act on Hulu?
No.
Okay, this is about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and her mother had Munchausen's by proxy, where she would medicalize her daughter, give her all these treatments that she didn't need. She was a perfectly healthy kid. She gave her a feeding tube that she didn't need. And eventually this was going to kill her. And it ended up being like this huge story because she and her boyfriend murdered her mother and ran away.
I heard about that.
Yeah. And it was turned into a TV show for Hulu, because why the heck not?
Exploit their story.
But now people are accusing Bella Hadid's mother of doing basically the same thing by, pressuring her into getting this diagnosis and getting all of these treatments, because she inherited it from her mother. And people don't even believe that her mother has it.
And there's no way to test for it.
What do you guys think about people who have these fictitious disorders or medical problems that can't really be fixed, can't be defined?
Well, that's the point, right? The medical industry loves that stuff because it keeps you heavily medicated and it keeps you within the clutches of the industry. So big pharma, they love it when you have conditions that require 9 different medications to take care of. And obviously, nobody's saying that there aren't people with real conditions that are hard to diagnose, right? But the idea here is that for a celebrity, it's a little bit different. It doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, no, you do have to test with a blood test for Lyme's disease. Most places won't just do it, but usually if you have it, you would know you had it. And especially if you're, I don't think there's a lot of ticks in LA from what I know. No. When I briefly spent time like in New Hampshire, and for the first time I heard about a lot of people having Lyme's disease there, a lot of people who had it and cured it naturally as well, which is also something that I had never heard of, because it can be really painful and really intense.
Yeah, it really hurts the joints.
Yeah. So like I've heard of a variety of different cures and natural remedies for curing Lyme's disease. I don't know as much about like Western medicine in terms of it being how they go about treating or curing Lyme's disease.
Yeah, and how long does it take to cure it naturally too?
Yeah, I got a $20 from Nathan Koss. It's anecdotal, but I live in West Central PA. Got bit by a tick on my hip, got sick, big bullseye rash, got a blood test and had Lyme's. You take an antibiotic and it's gone, no big deal. Yeah, that's what people's point here is like, you have to be suspicious of it when they say that they have it 10 years later because there's no proven treatment for chronic Lyme.
I've got myself some long COVID and I'm going to be suffering forever. Long COVID.
Yeah. And if you're like someone who has a pathological need for attention, then you might take advantage of that.
There's a $20 one there from Tom Bombadil.
PSA for tick safety. They hate cinnamon, lavender, mint, and vinegar. Any of these scents will repel ticks. I don't mind smelling like a pastry. Or mix 1 part vinegar with 9 parts water and spray your pets, comb their fur.
So find yourself a woman that loves the smell of cinnamon, lavender, mint, and vinegar.
Just go around with a spray bottle.
Yeah, and just let that be the...
Spray them like a cat that's misbehaving. And then... Also, there are some people who are celebrating that Bella Hadid is sick.
And that's not good either.
Because she's Palestinian.
Oh my God.
Which is evil.
This says, in a blatant expression of Zionist sadism, Israeli mainstream news outlet is celebrating that Bella Hadid has been hospitalized with Lyme disease. Quote, next time, think before you trash Israel, Miss Bella.
Like, this is evil.
Yeah,
So
I hate it when people are just waiting for people to fall or mess up or something bad happen to them just so they can be like, see, this is for that one time that you did this.
Yeah.
You deserve it.
Other people said, good news, she deserves it. Karma. Everyone gets what they deserve eventually. Finally,
rude.
something interesting. May you continue to live and suffer.
This is what Mary does whenever I get sick. She's like, this is what you get for not being Catholic.
May you continue to
May
live.
you continue to suffer in pain for not going back to church.
I'm just going by your words. People should suffer in silence and die young. It's the American way.
That was propaganda. Okay, look,
I'll let you borrow my women's Bible, Brett.
Nobody understands sarcasm anymore. Nobody gets it. Everyone knows I am the ray of sunshine, the white pill of this podcast.
Right.
But yeah, this just gave me big Royal Pains vibes.
I love that
Affluent white women who just really want to be medicalized and
See, the fun fact.
first world problems.
I love, like, I have a couple of stories there. First of all, I think the term first world problems is how we solve all the problems that we're living in right now, because everybody's worrying about the oppression Olympics in about, the scale for which your different levels of trauma and oppression, how they rate compared to other people's. But at the end of the day, if you were born in America, you really were born into the lottery, right? So first world problems was a way to both acknowledge the fact that you had it very, very well here in the U.S., but also brought everyone together because everyone else here was born here as well. We need to get back to that and not just like born in Calabasas problems. Those are certainly different problems than ours, but first world problems was the great unifier. We need to bring that term back. Also, Royal Pains is a one-of-a-kind show because it was the only show that I can imagine ever getting made that it would never be made now, because it portrayed obscenely rich people as quirky and not evil. And now they would just be like, they're portrayed as out of touch and a bit obtuse because their money disconnects them from the real world, but it's never shown in a malicious way. It's like, because they're all, at the end, most of them are good people, right? Like, a lot of them is like, they've got the same weight, the same staff of people who have worked for them for 20 years. And it's like, oh, I consider them family. You could tell that same story now, and that person would be portrayed as evil. But back then, everybody sort of respected each other, so you didn't have that type of negative attention just because they were wealthy. Also, how Ezra Miller got his start, so maybe it's not so good.
Oh, true.
Maybe it's not so good, but yeah. I don't. I've heard Lyme disease is pretty serious. Didn't Avril Lavigne almost die from Lyme disease or something?
Yeah, people questioned it when she said she had chronic Lyme too.
So it is real.
It is.
Everyone
it's
turns
real.
into house when someone gets a diagnosis in Hollywood.
It's like you're strung out, and they're like, it's not drugs, it's Lyme disease, as you're just dying of withdrawal.
Yeah.
Like I'm going through Lyme disease withdrawal. That's what it'll be. Do you think she's faking it?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me.
It speaks to the nature of how important it is to be perceived a certain way in Hollywood.
Yeah.
That they have to be rigidly in control of every decision that they make because perception is everything.
Whether or not she's actually sick, she's getting a huge good publicity boost right before she comes back to modeling. So it is good for her in a marketing perspective. Doesn't mean that she's faking it necessarily.
Yep. It's and it also speaks to just how different our problems are in the world than the average celebrity.
Jamie Foxx totally pissed away his opportunity to get sympathy. making that anti-Semitic post.
That wasn't
Tisk, tisk.
anti-Semitic.
Oh, I
That
didn't
wasn't
hear about that.
anti-Semitic.
I think he apologized for it, right? Or tried
Yes.
to. Yeah.
He did. They always. And then somebody yesterday was like, "This one aged poorly," because we had a video that was titled. It was like Jamie Foxx and Neo fold like accordions, but then then Neo's like, "Psych, I'm not apologizing." And we're like,
Yeah.
could you have done that 30 minutes earlier so we could have covered it on
He
the same
literally
day?
put that out while we were covering it, so we didn't see it.
No.
Yep. All right.
What are the side effects of Ozempic?
Have you seen those photos of
Getting
You look
skinny,
great.
becoming a skinny legend.
looking absolutely fantastic?
That was
into your
side effect.
You may gain weight from looking like a snack.
It does seem depressing to never be hungry, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
I'm sure like
Essential
vitamin
life.
just take a bunch
deficiency.
of Adderall.
Like,
You can understand what it's like to never be hungry.
Oh yeah.
I spent many years not hungry, Mary. It is depressing, and it is actually, in fact, that's actually one thing that happens. Like when you go off of it or you stop taking uppers of some sort, you're like, oh my god, food! Holy shit,
Yeah.
it's so good.
It's wild.
That's a thing, right? Like, 'cause
yeah.
you're like, you haven't actually enjoyed eating food for an extended period of time,
Yeah.
so that when you do, you're like, oh my, you actually taste the food now. It's
Yeah.
not just something that
Yeah.
you're eating to keep yourself from passing out.
Yeah. Exactly.
So people
Yeah.
who've tried out Ozempic, they say that it just makes you feel lethargic and like you just ate all the time, but not full. Which sounds
That sounds
Really?
horrible.
That sounds
horrible, but you
terrible.
got to do what you got to do to become a skinny legend.
Did you see
Yeah.
the picture of Jonah Hill that posted the other day?
Yeah.
And it says, looks like somebody whose girlfriend isn't out swimming with other people or surfing with
When your girlfriend doesn't surf with dudes. He's like beaming, just absolutely.
He's just
Yeah.
like, he's got his shirt
happiness.
tucked in because he's so skinny now. He can like fit it into
He's
those
such an
pants.
alpha. He's
He
just
is. Yeah.
thriving.
He's like, he's like, no woman of mine's going out.
He
on
has
the,
that
in the
post
ocean
breakup
today.
glow up, the
is.
post cancellation glow up.
You know what?
right.
If that's what he's got to do to keep his woman from surfing with dudes, then so be it.
That's right.
Right.
Ozempic should turn this into
Live
like a
your
mu-
truth, Jonah.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.